All right, I'm going to call to order this Nottingham Select Board meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. It is 6 p.m. and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So the purpose of tonight's hearing was on June 28th of 2024, Kevin Bassett, on behalf of the 70-25 LLC, filed a petition with the Select Board for a road layout under RSA 231:8. Per RSA 231:9, required notification of this public hearing was sent via certified mail, return receipt requested to 7025 LLC and New Hampshire Electric Co-op on May 9th, 2025, in accordance with RSA 231:10. Notice was also posted at the Nottingham Town Office and the Nottingham Post Office and filed with the Town Clerk's Office per RSA 43:3. Nottingham Select Board is holding this public hearing to receive input regarding the petition to alter an existing highway pursuant to RSA 231:8, which allows towns to alter any such existing highway within their town for which there shall be occasion. The subject roadway is a Class 5 road now known as Channel Street, formerly a section of Lamprey Drive, extending from Dolph Dam Road past Indian Run to Lamprey Drive. The purpose of the petition is not to create a new road, but to clarify the location and width of the existing road. The board will gather public comment during this hearing prior to making a decision on the petition. The public hearing notice is as follows. The Nottingham Select Board will hold a public hearing to receive public comment pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 231:8 to alter any such existing highway within their town for which there shall be occasion. The subject is already a Class 5 road now known as Channel Street, formerly a section of Lamprey Drive, extending from Dolph Dam Road past Indian Run to Lamprey Drive. Select Board has received a petition requesting this layout only to clarify location and width of Channel Street. As part of the process, Select Board will gather public input during this hearing before making its decision. Public hearing will be held Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the meeting room, Nottingham Town Offices, 139 Stage Road, Nottingham, New Hampshire. Residents are encouraged to attend and comment. Written comments may be submitted in advance to the town administrator. We can skip this part. As of the hearing, no written comments have been received for the record. All right, background. A review of plans and other documentation recording at the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds does not provide the specific width for the section of road now known as Channel Street. This process is not being used to lay out a new road. It is to alter any such highway within their town for which there shall be occasion. Again, RSA 231:8. So, do you want me to read all this board consider part? Do we need to for the record? All right. Occasion for layout under RSA 231:8. Number one, the public convenience and public necessity for the highway. The road existed prior to its formal acceptance via a petition warrant article in 2021. The road provides access to 27 residential homes in one vacant parcel. A formal layout will define road maintenance parameters. The layout will ensure reliable emergency vehicle access. 2, the financial burden to be imposed upon the municipality's taxpayers for construction and maintenance, and the road has already been accepted as a Class 5 road, town maintained road, no new construction costs are involved. And then number 3, the rights of owners, if any, whose land would have to be taken. Kevin Bassett, the sole owner of 70-25 LLC, is the only owner impacted by this section of road. We'll now open for public comment. There's no limitation allowed. And then we'll get into our action steps. So, open for public comment. Mr. Bassett, would you like to start? Sure.
I think that's my invitation.
Yeah, sure is.
That's at 101 Shore Drive. We initiated this in order to figure out where the roads were at the time Lamprey, now Channel Street. because the next step is to subdivide roughly 30 acres. It's on the northwest side.
Yep.
And that's what we do next with the planning board, is a subdivision between number one son and number one daughter. So in order to know where that road was, we thought it best to initiate this. This is maybe the first in the town, maybe not, but
I haven't been able to find any history.
hopefully this helps the board and others as we go forward with the other roads, and so that was my incentive in doing this part of this. So we took it one step further. We did a survey and a plan. Jason Franklin introduced him as a surveyor that actually defines all of the roads, including Indian Run, Lamprey Drive, and such. So this was recorded at the deed of records. It had an update, or it will be recorded with an update.
Correct.
And because Channel Street is now at Channel Street, and it was Lamprey Drive, so it's this shows, I think, the latest configuration that you would approve. And you have this drawing.
Yeah. John has a copy of it. We've reviewed it several times. So.
Okay.
And again, I just want to thank you for your expense, your time, your patience. This is obviously kind of new to all of us as we've been trying to work through this and do this in the correct manner. Just want to state that. This picture won't really show if anybody can see, but the road in question is here in the middle. The outline area in yellow is his whole parcel. Basically, the road in question bisects his land, and he's just getting it marked so that you can identify it for anybody that's watching and is curious about this before they watch it later on the planning board section. I don't really think there's much else. Unless you have anything else you want to say right now, we can let additional public comment if anybody has any on this. You have spent significant time and money to get this, and you continued on and did all the other streets as well, which is obviously a benefit of the town. I believe the real question we're going to come up to is determining the road width. I think we had talked about, did you, in the plans, did we turn about, is it a 25 rough mean width is what the road is right now?
Correct.
Yes.
That was through the select board at the time.
Yep.
And verbalized to us from the town lawyers that they would agree to the 25-foot easement on all of the roads.
Yep.
And I believe that's what's shown in this latest.
Correct.
Correct. Again, you're not creating a new road. We're just trying to like formalize it so that when the next stage it goes to be subdivided, it's the first building block under what you're trying to do. I know that there was some question from the planning board on the subdivision regulations and making it expanded to 33 feet, which would be of significant cost to yourself and obviously quite a disturbance to the road going from where we are out to a 33, not even talking about right away, but making a mean passable road of.
I thought 25 would keep the rural accent of the road.
Correct. And I can't speak for the planning board part of it. I believe, any additional growth beyond this, like we're not trying to set a precedence of, establishing certain roads and all that going in for new subdivisions. This is kind of, they might set like, if you expand beyond any further, it might have to come to additional regulations and be increased at that time if your kids then want to split it up into their kids and it keeps cutting the piece of pie smaller. They may have to get into where this road has been established, probably longer than most roads in the area. Does anybody else have anything immediately we wanted to just roughly talk about now with Kevin at the chair before we allow somebody else to rotate through?
No, I have nothing specific other than, I mean, I think we open for public comment and
Yep. Let people come up, so. Kevin, thank you again. We'll let anybody else kind of hop up now. And again, we're not getting into the subdivision portion of it for anybody listening. We are strictly looking at the road layout for the road that's been there, which is now identified as Channel Street.
Jason, if you could just shift that back a little bit, it's blocking the board table.
Oh.
Maybe so the audience can view it as well. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak to this matter?
Yes. Hi,
Hello?
Glenn Griswold, 33 Deerfield Road, and a member of the planning board. I was the one who authored the letter that was sent to the select board with some of our concerns. And I just want to touch on a couple of things as that were in my letter. First of all is that the 25-foot right-of-way only leaves 2.5 feet either side of the traveled way if the road is sufficient for the fire truck to go down it per the National Fire Prevention Association's recommendations of a 20-foot width for the traveled way. So that would be insufficient for any sort of improvement work that needed to be done, ditches, side slopes, things of that nature.
That's a shame, there's no other.
And it would be inadequate for, routine maintenance, snow removal, drainage, things of that way. The other portion of it is that any cross culverts beneath Channel Lane or street will eventually need to be repaired or replaced. And at a 25-foot width with a 20-foot travel way, it'll be insufficient for the highway department to repair that without encroaching or trespassing on private lands. And last but not least, the town ordinances require a minimum right-of-way width of 50 feet. And we would like to ask for clarification if the Class 5 road, does the town have an obligation to establish the right-of-way such that it can support any future improvements such as paving or other improvements that are needed to upgrade the road to town standards?
This is the big one. Do we have, are we putting in a full right-of-way on this? Is this establishing a full right-of-way? Or, because there's not, none of the roads that were,
The roads that were accepted in 2021, they were accepted as is.
correct.
So unless they were specified on a plan or a survey, then.
Which is one of the reasons why we were asking if that, if moving forward, a 25-foot right-of-way is used, that will potentially open the town to, further difficulties in a manner similar to what's happening with the beach road. Granted, I know that that's neither here nor there as far as it goes, but if the highway department needs to repair part of that road, they're going to be encroaching or trespassing to be able to do that.
Should it be clear, this is 25-foot road width. There's no right-of-way in anything we're discussing right now. It is strictly like the gravel on the top. I don't think, we are not getting a right-of-way. This is kind of a marking out what's there.
My understanding of it was that the Board of Selectmen's process is in determining what that right-of-way width is as part of it.
Because then that opens up a whole, if we
Right.
start getting into right-of-way, then we're getting into like
You're
rewriting.
into the layout of a new road.
We're getting into the
Right.
layout of the new road, we're getting into new deed, we're getting into the swapping of land. Like, we maintain the road, but we don't have a right-of-way of the road. The 2021
A
petition
Class 5
article,
road is literally a right-of-way.
yeah,
The definition.
okay. I mean, we're kind of stuck with how they were accepted in 2021, which,
But this is our opportunity to at least correct a portion of something that was done. You know, I mean, Glenn makes a great point that, you know, with a 25-foot right-of-way, there isn't any room to do anything. I mean, I have no problems with the construction of the road width itself as it is at 25 feet, but I believe that the town needs to protect itself and have some right-of-way beyond that 25 feet.
do we have anything else from the legal's interpretation?
No, I mean, this is your period to determine what that is.
I mean, when we talked about this last with the board that was in place at the time, Kevin was basically sent away with, we're leaving it as is, mark it as is, identify it as is, which he has done everything that we told him to do at that period of time, to then at this point say, well, now we want it to be a right-of-way at 33 or 50 feet. That's an additional time and cost put onto somebody who's already done significant waiting and cost. I'm still listening to everybody's like input on this. It is, and I get your point about like the culverts and all that, which there's some other issue where we had at one point where we were trying to move a culvert and it was the same type of thing where it was on both sides of the road and the person didn't really like it. And it's like, but the water's damming up on one side or the other and the culvert's crushed, like we have to replace this. And I think we've got that culvert replaced. Like, I think it's, but again, like you said, if with the ownership of the beach road, when it changes, if the ownership of, if all of Bassett's don't own this road anymore, and then we go to fix something, somebody's like, I don't want to fix because there's two different families. I don't really know what happens in terms of maintenance. I think it's just to make the road passable, this is what we have to do. We're not doing anything.
It's unfortunate in 2021, we didn't require that every Class 5 road that we took over had a 50-foot right-of-way.
Right.
That would have been a much nicer scenario. Give up whatever you got to get to give us that 50-foot right-of-way. Doesn't mean we want you to bring the roads up to 50 foot. Not at all. We want the roads to stay the same, but if we had that 50-foot piece of property that down the road, we could make improvements or whatever needed to happen, it would be so much
Which is
easier on the town.
pretty much what my point is that it's kind of future-proofing the road for the town's perspective, that we don't have to go through this rigmarole again, but kind of nip it in the bud, fix the issues of many of the roads that were taken at the same time as part of that warrant article.
Right. We can only really address one at a time as they come up in situations like this.
Right.
Which I can't imagine any, this is one of the, if only the parcel that bisects one piece of land, which happens to be owned by the one individual. Other than that, it's already been kind of parceled off that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
And can't this be further addressed at the planning board level when it comes up for subdivision, when you're doing your conditions of approval for the subdivision? Can't you further?
No, because at that point, so The planning board does not have the power to specify a town road's width. That's the provenance of the select board. The planning board can say, we would like an easement from the owner for this particular width, but only on those segments that are, directly affected. But to be able to affect the entire right-of-way, they're town roads, it's the select board's decision. That's all I've got. Thank you.
No, it's very informative, thank you.
So we're talking from here, we're just talking channel from here
Right.
to
From Dolph to Indian Run.
Lamprey,
All
right? To Lamprey. Because this is actually Lamprey, I think, or no,
It
it's
goes
channel there. Okay, to here.
Yeah, the channel goes all the way to the end,
The
and then
second
when you,
part of
when you
Lamprey.
turn left or right onto Lamprey, that's, the channel runs all the way to the end, correct?
The second
And then
part.
Lamprey is kind of a hook,
Hmm.
just to make sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either
Come
from
on.
this map, no.
You're gonna be involved in this part.
Yeah, 'cause Lamprey goes like this.
The last question. I know channel to start at this intersection of Dolph,
Right, yep,
and it ends at
Right
this
there, yeah.
intersection of Lamprey,
Okay,
yep.
right?
That's what we just
Lamprey.
pointed out.
Because the 911 wants a road to start and wants a road to end.
right,
Thus, it starts and it ends Lamprey. Lamprey used to be here and it used to be,
That whole, the whole
And
thing.
now
Yeah.
Lamprey is here, and it ends, and then there's discussions that I've had with Dale, what do we do with this little spur here? And so he's working with the 911 folks 2-3 weeks ago, last time I talked.
okay,
And that's
Sort of
actually,
beside the point, but,
Right,
okay, and then Indian here.
yeah,
So, talk about culverts. There's one culvert right here, not on channel, but it's on Dolph, right at the beginning of this intersection, right where my fingernail is.
yep,
And then, I didn't think it worth doing 33 to 50 here, because from here to 156, it's like 15 or 20 feet wide. You know, that's not part of the discussion.
right.
So, yeah, we could make that 50, but what are you gonna do with this?
And I don't think it was ever make the road 50.
Right.
It's
It-
into a right-of-way portion, but I don't know.
It's the right-of-way topic.
right, it's the right of way top, yeah.
25 seems reasonable to me. I mean, the road was 15, so another 5 on each side. And you know the highway has come up there, they've pulled stumps, they've busted rocks, and it now looks great. So, but that's beside the.
Right.
So,
I think going back, like, I think highway has done the maintenance, and we've done snow removal, and we haven't heard anything from fire or police that we have an issue with access down this road with any of the equipment that we have in town. And the grader uses it, I mean, it's,
there are certainly more narrow roads that they're navigating.
Right, right. I mean, it's more of protection of the town for the future.
Yeah.
right, but
That's-
to
that's
his
what it's
point,
about.
to
Doesn't
what?
seem
Because
fair
there
to
isn't,
Mr. Bassett.
see right there, there's a culvert.
Yep.
So there's no culvert on that road.
No, it's actually pretty
there are
high.
no culverts on Channel Street.
Correct, so dealing with the maintenance that was brought up there, there's no
Not that
culvert.
there won't need to be at
Right.
some point in time.
No, that
That would
cross
have
the
to be-
road. And
There might be,
And the town has done some edge work.
depending on,
Road, you know, water goes and it spreads, but it's all upland. Channel Street, pretty much from that intersection, goes upland to the intersection of Lamprey, and then it starts to go back down again. So it's good upland land. And so
Right,
I don't anticipate any crossroad culverts in the future.
depends
The
on,
highway guy needs to tell you that, not me.
future development could change it, but
Well, that 30-acre piece is going to be subdivided in half.
Yep.
To, you know, 2 of my kids. The piece below it goes to my third kid, and then there's 2 little pieces off to the left. So today, tomorrow, the next day?
Who knows? Next year, 2 years from now?
Right, but there's no new road construction except for 2 driveways potentially in the separation of the lots for the subdividing portion of it. Your lot was already subdivided when all the roads were put in. There's not a lot you can do besides.
Yep.
So, per the guidance here for the action, we could try to move this off, but we're not going to. Determine road width, the 25 feet as discussed, or 33 for the sub, and accept the road as laid out. What's that?
It was actually 50 per the subdivision. Regulations are 33 to match some of the other roads.
Oh, Doug, someone up?
Doug
Didn't see you
Bates,
moving.
30 Lamprey Drive. I'm very familiar with this because I lived there. There was a comment earlier about the history of Channel Street, that it's a very old road. Actually, it's a pretty new road. My understanding is it dates from the early 1960s. There is an older path of road that extends off of the end of where Doloff Dam Road ends now, parallels where Channel Street is, connects where Lamprey is, then where Lamprey makes a left turn, it goes through my yard, off to the point, crosses over the lake to the boat ramp on Horse Island. When Lamprey was subdivided in the early 1960s, Herb Lamprey created all those housing lots, of which I have one, and he relocated the road and created Lamprey Drive at that time. And Channel Street is part of that road created in the early 60s.
Okay, and then that was, the recent name change was,
Due to E911.
okay. What time?
It was due to the E911.
Yeah, but what date was that?
Couple
years ago.
22.
Right, so the road was accepted by the town in 21 as it is. And then there was a name change, but the deed never really got updated. So it's like we're accepting a road that was accepted, but because the name wasn't correctly changed, right? Because 21 was when the road was accepted. 22 is when the name was
It was
changed.
accepted as Lamprey, and then
Correct.
And
So
then
we're
we-
kind of putting him through the ringer because something was, when it got changed for E911, and we're like, we're re-accepting a road that technically was already accepted.
Uh-huh.
The road as laid out in 2021 was accepted.
But your address doesn't change, right?
So, to Kevin Bassett's point about the need for culverts, he's right, this is upland. It's kind of hard for me to imagine, and I go over this all the time, where you would need to put any culvert in the future unless, Mount Pawtuckaway erupts again, and the topology is very greatly changed. The next thing is about the widening of Channel Street. Since I have lived here, Channel Street has been widened twice. The first time it was widened, I came and complained to the board. It is destroying the rural, widening these roads is destroying the rural character of the area. It's also making the roads unsafer. You make these roads wider and people go faster. If you pay attention to social media, you have lots of people complaining about, people zipping down our 25-mile-per-hour roads because they're over-engineered. And by that term, I mean engineered to a much higher speed than what we want people to do. Narrow roads produce natural traffic calming, and this road would be better off narrower. And in that regard, I wish to support Kevin's position that this should be a 25-foot road. Thank you.
Thanks for the information, Doug.
Any other comments?
What were you saying? There was a, but I mean, this road was accepted in 21. We're in a formality of a name change right now, so I don't, and he's gone through the process of making everything better marked out. The registry of deeds, it's marked out with the new name on it, so it's all fixed, and he's done the course. I can't see it this time, when the road was already accepted, to be like, by the way, we want you to do more. I just don't see it myself. I'm for reapproval. Channel as is, laid out per the sheet that we have now, because that was a question before, is how can we accept it if we don't know where it is? Now we know where it is, we know its width. I can't see putting much else on him. And then the planning board for the subdivision part, that's different in terms of requirements of there, but they're not gonna, will set the road. I don't know if we can ask for a right of way, but again,
I think we need to ask for right away. I just, to protect the town, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with leaving the road width at 25 feet, but the right of way has to be there.
so what additional, what does that do to us if we say, or do to him? Is he gonna have
We got another
that?
comment.
Sorry?
Thank you.
Good evening to the board. My name's Ryan Fowler. I represent Mr. Bassett, the survey manager at James Moran Associates. To kind of recircle back on all the comments, the right-of-way has been adopted, basically, and the purpose of tonight's meeting was to define that width, which was unknown, right?
Okay.
Based off of Kevin's interactions with the board and the information that's been provided to me, that it was as is, where is, but that width was undefined. There were some comments at 25 feet, which is what we're proposing, just based off of those comments. I think the real intention of this meeting was to define that width so that we can carry on with a subdivision application, whatever, that width may be. There is a little bit of question with, historically, what was the width of the roads in the area? And if you ask for more, is that a taking? Does there need to be compensation? I can't answer those questions, but that is a, potential concern. Kevin seems to be fine with the 25 feet. Anything more, I don't know on that. If that would be considered a taking, and then you'd have those avenues, that could be a potential issue for the town. But basically, my understanding of tonight's meeting is to adopt that width, so we can try to move on with the process of subdivision. And that is what was left as a cloud by what was accepted by the town. The town did accept a right-of-way. A Class 5 road is a right-of-way.
Yep.
But the width was undefined. We go back a little bit, you could try to look into historically what the roads were in the area. 25 feet, a little bit of an odd size road for the time period. 60s, maybe not so much if it truly was the 60s. But, historically in New Hampshire, old roads were laid out by rods in divisions of 16.5 feet. 33 would be a typical measurement of an older road, but not necessarily in 1960. They might have used a more common footage, nearest foot measurement. But I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention so that they have some more information and background on it. Hopefully shed some light to the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I don't know. Any other comments from the public? So we need to determine the road width, and then either accept the road as laid out in the presented survey plan, and then the part about the right-of-way is an additional step, I believe, that we would have to look into, like hard road to travel and consult legal.
You still need to, you would have to issue a written decision on this public hearing or on what your decision is, and then
Okay.
there is still an appeal process, but the path forward is what is going to be used
For his
for his
application.
determination. So, I mean, ultimately, what you're doing is, if you're going to come up with a decision tonight, you're verbally giving it to him, but there is still an appeal process, so that could be subject to change.
Okay.
I just want to make that known.
No, I appreciate it. This is still the first of hopefully not many.
The intention was, based on what the board voted over a year ago, or the intention was to move forward with a 25-foot width.
Correct. As is And I believe it was cleaned up a little bit by the highway department for just better road maintenance and, plow, and not digging up plows on rocks and ledge and stuff like that, but I don't see us going in and saying, let's make it 33 and start cutting trees back and stuff like that.
No, I don't think anybody wants to clear that width.
Okay.
I don't think that's the issue. I think that, having the right-of-way there to do what we need to do if the road needs to be,
If ever.
right, if ever. May never have to be done, but having that flexibility and protecting the town with that flexibility is what's important.
So I guess the first part is, do you have anything? Sean?
Yeah, I
Thinking?
do, actually. I mean, I think we might miss an opportunity if we don't ask for an easement or a wider road, that we may regret it later. But I also think it's unfair to Mr. Bassett, who's followed what he was asked to follow.
Right.
And,
Yeah, no, it's,
it's an unfortunate circumstance, but I guess I would err on the side of maybe feeling regretful later, maybe looking into an easement, but to let him go ahead with the 25-foot width.
I think there's like two parts to this. So first, we should probably have a motion on what we want the road to be, do a roll call vote, and then we can talk about if we're asking for a right-of-way, that's an additional part.
Continuation of this public
Correct.
hearing
That's-
to
I-
possibly.
I'm
move
But he
on.
needs the first part, the road. Let's just do the road part.
I'm fine with the width of the road at 25 feet.
All right, so somebody want to make a motion?
All right, I will make a motion that the drivable layout of Channel Street, or the passable layout of Channel Street is 25 feet.
And probably, I would say, as is, as laid out. per-
As laid out per the subdivision plan, 70-25 LLC, map 70, lot 25, dated 6/4/2025.
We have a motion on the floor?
We have it's not a subdivision plan.
It's a layout.
It's a layout.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Right, sorry, layout plan. I know what the copy I'm looking at says subdivision plan, so that's the planning board one for later.
Right.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept channel as laid out per the,
This one,
um,
that's why, 'cause it's supposed to be this road.
yep, as laid out per the layout plan, map 70, lot 25 to 25 feet. Roll call vote.
Aye, Steve Welch.
Hi, John Dagger.
I'm Matt Sherlin.
I, Charlotte Fife.
All right. And you may want to make an additional,
All right.
you already have at least this discussion about the right of way?
Let's discuss the right of way, yeah.
So his talking about the additional rods and where the 33 feet came up with, can we just ask for 33 feet of a right of way? Do we need 50 feet for a right of way for a road that is?
That's been existing, I think.
Which, it makes
it-
a difference if,
Right.
again, they go down to like try to cut this
In a new subdivision,
southernish plot.
it calls for the 50 feet, right? That's our subdivision plan. But I would be okay with a 33-foot right-of-way for this previously existing road to protect the town, giving, space to do maintenance as necessary in the future, and snow load and whatever is needed.
Can we make the motion based on, like, and if we say, like, we accept it as is, but any future development may require, like, can we have it binding or bound by any type of time or development?
I can't opine on that, I'm not an attorney.
Just trying to, again.
I don't know if you can bind for
Reasonable.
So, Kevin, do you have any other comments on the right-of-way portion of it, or?
What's the difference between a right-of-way and an easement?
I wish I could give you a better.
Can't give you the definition.
I mean, you're saying it's a class 5 road, so we're saying it's a right-of-way,
It's an existing right of way. We don't know the width, right?
okay?
That's basically where we're at.
Right.
Is the, whether or not the town accepted this as a
public road or not, there was some type of prescriptive rights for all these people that lived on this road, right, that access their property. They had a prescriptive right to use this road. What we did by getting the town to accept it is now the town can maintain it legally. They can trim trees, they can grade, they can do those things that they've kind of been doing. But now they have the right to do that. And the public has the right to traverse it, not just the people that lived here.
But we only have the right on 25 feet.
We don't know
Well,
that
they don't
width,
know,
which is
and that's-
why we're here.
But if we approve that
We just
tonight,
approved it.
Well, we just approved the drivable width of the road.
This is a very complex.
Right.
I don't, if I may, I don't think we approved the drivable width, because the width, so we're showing a 25-foot maintenance easement around that line, that's what we defined. And this 25-foot easement road is, right, so it, I mean, as is, the drivable portion of the roads are within this 25-foot strip.
Yeah.
Right? So the gravel itself may be 15, it may be 17 somewhere else, or 12, right? But generally speaking, we encased all these drivable roads in a 25-foot width, right? Asking for, easements and right-of-ways, I think we're starting to kind of lose track here. Again, we get into the damages. If now Kevin is expected to give up more property over something that he's already allowing people to use without this width. I mean, somebody's paying him to use that property. I mean, it's, he's been very nice about doing all this. I mean, this was a town vote. The people accepted it. We're just clarifying what they accepted.
Correct, and he took on the cost
Right, so
of
now
all
we're
the
gonna-
surveying. I do not diminish that.
Right, I mean, to give 50 feet, 33 feet, now we're taking more, town of Nottingham, the people are taking more of Kevin's land, right? And again, damages, who's gonna pay for that? I mean, is Kevin gonna eat the cost for that? He's losing the land value. Those are, these are these things. I understand the need to have a maintenance agreement, or the need to be able to maintain that road. But one of my other concerns is that we're gonna start getting back into this loop in the subdivision, talking about the subdivision regulations, but these roads are, he's already subdivided the land. I mean, like, lot, and now we're breaking this one in piece. Now is he gonna have to, by subdivision regulations, upgrade the road to 50 feet? It's a town road, it's already been accepted.
we're not looking to upgrade anything, we're just looking.
Well,
But-
I'm concerned that this is gonna happen in the planning board meeting. We're talking about, concerns, that, you wouldn't have somebody upgrade 156, would you? I mean, I know it's an extreme, but it's already there, it's in existence. Just something to consider.
Right.
If I'm out of line, Ryan, I mean, if you can add anything to that.
No, I think Jason's, pretty much in line that, the idea tonight was what's the width, right?
Mhm.
Because the town did accept it,
In the previous
in the
board,
previous-
we said 25, and everything that he's done for work to this
Mr.
point.
Bassett has hired an attorney before, reviewed these road records, and Jim Franklin reviewed them, and, they came to this determination that that was an avenue that was needed to kind of make this official. The question is the width. We don't really know. There was apparently some talks in prior meetings of 25,
Mhm.
which Mr. Bassett was okay with, that 25. I do agree with it. I think Len said that, the vote, I guess, was a little shady in the fact that, we accepted as traveled. The width of the dirt right now isn't 25 feet, but you did accept it based off the plan, so I guess there's a little bit of contradiction in the actual rule, the vote of what exactly got accepted. I can see, I guess his opinion on that is justified. So I see that there, but I think the idea is we're trying to give you something that, with 25 feet, we can kind of make the road work, and it gives you a little bit of additional room for maintenance, with that. And this whole process is kind of a gray area, right? Because the town did accept this as a public right-of-way, and,
Oh, yeah.
the question is that a taking? Because everyone that lived here had private rights to access this property, but now the public has rights. So, you know, it's kind of, the whole situation is kind of a gray area because, you know,
It gets into if it was private, it was an emergency lane, and now we're getting into, we wanted it maintained. I live on a different side of town on a paved road. This is not my.
The whole thing is kind of a gray area that, you know, there's not a lot of cases, I think, exactly like this that kind of rely on. And, you know, there are some road experts in the state that, you know, we consulted with one of them. I wasn't part of the process at that time, so I can't tell you how those conversations went. But that's kind of how we ended up here today, is the whole thing is kind of a question of how we get, you know, legal is what's going on. Mr. Bassett's okay with it, and I think he wants to fix the problem.
Correct.
And this is kind of where we're at.
Yeah, the 2021 warrant article definitely left a lot of questions. You know, I mean, it solved a immediate concern of plowing and stuff like that, but it didn't really solve problems. It kind of created a lot of questions, so.
Create different ones.
Yeah, and where
the road's
Mr.
fine.
Bassett petitioned it, maybe it's not necessarily a taking because he was offering it. I don't know.
To my point, I know we changed the name. This road was here, and we accepted that piece of road when it was Lamprey, and I know we're calling it Channel, and he was kind of like, you know, how are we questioning this or not? But the town already accepted that piece of dirt as laid out in 2021, which is why I don't see
Right, but it wasn't,
putting additional,
but there was no actual layout, which is the whole issue, is that it
for him to
wasn't
move
defined.
further, and he has spent time and money to lay it out, which he
Yep.
did, and I think the 25 that we did was good. Doug, do you have a?
Doug Bates, 30 Lamprey. I just wish to point out that you just voted to make the traveled surface 25 feet wide. That traveled surface right now is not 25 feet wide. Thank goodness. I think you quoted was, what, 22 feet wide?
I think it's kind of,
Yeah.
It's kind of.
it's
Back
a
and
dirt,
forth, right?
it's a dirt road through the woods to
From my
Lake
understanding,
Houses.
when it was accepted as is where it is, it has kind of gotten a little bit bigger with the maintenance that has happened since then. You know, so I'm not actually sure what it was in 22 when it was accepted.
So,
Anyway, it's not 25 feet now, so you just voted to widen the road, widen the travel surface. No, they said the travel surface, not the
25
easement.
Right, except for travel surface.
He said the travel, that's right.
Accepted the travel surface for
Important
25
distinction.
feet.
Also, for the history buffs here, this road, although it's not in its original location, actually is an extremely old road, and it was supposed to have by law been accepted prior to 1968 because of its age.
come on up.
Do Chris Evans, I'm on the planning board as well.
Trying to get to your meeting.
Pardon me?
We're trying to get you to your meeting.
And Kevin's at our meeting. I wonder if we should ask Kevin if he would be okay with 33 feet. And as a two-rod road, which is kind of traditional in New Hampshire in some ways in the past, or three-rod road or four-rod road, so that's a traditional thing. The only comment I have about this 20-foot wide is that on a right-of-way, you know, typically a right-of-way might be 50 feet, but the road serpentine, it doesn't stay exactly in the middle. And these roads, I just drove up there on my way here, which is why I was a few minutes late, and looked at this road coming in, and certainly the road coming in, Doloff Dam, is extremely windy, and you can see where the plow trucks have clipped trees, and, you know, eventually the town's gonna have to spend money to take down trees and do some other things, and we'll wanna straighten out the road for just visual safety. On the road I live on, which you guys are talking about these days too, Mindle Road, Brussels Road. You know, there are sections I have actually passed another vehicle and hit my mirror on the other vehicle, a big truck. And there are several sections where we do have to actually stop and back up and let other cars come by. I was pulling up the road this winter, and a large truck was coming, and it was just
odd conditions. I put my brakes on. I was sliding down the hill towards this truck, and who had stopped to let me kind of swing by because where it was kind of narrow. And he said, I went by and said, well, that was close, because I stopped like 5 feet from him. And he said, I was getting ready to back up my truck to give you more room to slide. So for safety's sake, I think having that additional width, being able to straighten out the road, remove trees, do some of the things that Glenn had suggested. Glenn is a surveyor, so he's well versed in this. I don't think it's a terrible idea. We should maybe ask Kevin what his ideas are on 33 feet, if he's happy enough with that, where he owns both sides of the road, whether that could work. They've done all this work. In the future, maybe people on Doluth Dam Road further down, if there's actions or permits or different things, maybe they eventually can say, hey, let's make this a little wider. It's probably 15 feet wide in a couple sections, if that. So maybe eventually the whole road can be made a little bit wider, just for safety, for people, for the fire trucks, for plow trucks to get in there. I see all the trees on our road that are right in the road where the road curves, and they're all clipped by the plow trucks. It's just for safety. I think 33 feet might be, just give us a little bit more buffer. That's all.
All right.
Thank you.
So what we had said, and maybe to Doug's, what we were saying was, we accepted the road as is laid out in the 25-foot, and we said the dirt path, but obviously it's a winding woods trail, if you will. This is gonna have to still go to another, or are we looking to, because you said it's gonna have to go through an appeal process as well, correct?
No, it has, I mean,
Potential for it.
anybody can appeal your decision through the zoning board. It's an administrative decision, so there is still an appeal process once your written decision is issued.
We didn't hear anything from the highway director asking to make the road wider. We didn't hear anything from fire or police or any of the departments to make it wider. We've heard from residents on the town that live in this area that they don't want it necessarily wider. I understand everybody's point, and I'm hearing them. I think that we have incrementally gained a little bit of road here or there as new dirt flows, but if we start talking about more and more, we are going to have to see about anything additional that would have to be
So,
taken.
well, let's ask Kevin what his opinion is, as Chris suggested.
I believe, I mean, Kevin can come up, but we did, the last time we had spoke through, you come on, Kevin, but when John was here and we had additional prior board, we did talk about
Mhm.
all the different plans, and we did,
I don't know, I was not part of the board.
I don't remember what time that we went through this, and John, very familiar with the planning board side and road side and this part of it. We'll I think came up with the 25 feet that we're at and not the 33. Because,
I don't know. I was not there.
Kevin, any other
But I would like,
words?
would rather.
You can
have
still
it
come up.
say-
I mean, he's just talking, but yeah, come on up. We obviously gotta get you together in the meeting too, but.
I would consider 33 feet, only if.
It's done.
What's left? Only if, and we're only talking channel, but
We're only talking channel.
here the tar road was improved, because it doesn't make sense to make this wider if this isn't.
I don't think we wanna make the road wider.
And if the amount of residences included increased by 33%. You would want more width for more road, for more residences. This, number one son, number one daughter, number two daughter, and this is down behind the dam, probably not even buildable. It may become conservation land in the future, honestly. So, more houses. Short term. None of these kids are gonna subdivide. They can't subdivide in the next 2 or 3 years, right? So, so there's no plan to do it. So I would consider it only then, in this conversation, that we would want to discuss.
I don't think that gets into us, so we discuss roads, the planning board discusses number of houses that can be constructed into and I think that just is why this keeps, the more you try to pull and unravel, it becomes worse. And I think the intent too is not to put big picture town, not to put more down there if we don't need to, or allow more building and more construction. So we already had a motion and we voted for, as is laid out previously, channel for the 25-foot, which we're considering not the full drivable lane.
I do think that you should probably clarify your motion though, because you did talk of it as.
Drivable. Did we say 25 drivable?
We said 25 drivable.
Okay. So can we retract it, or how do we get out of it?
25-foot right of way.
All right.
I still think we should need to go to the 33 for the right away.
And then he said to do that, he's going to be looking.
To go out to
I don't know how
156.
that works.
And we can't do anything about that other road at this point.
I would say at this point, due to the time, I think you're either going to have to continue this public hearing so that you're already a half an hour into a scheduled planning board meeting.
Correct.
And based on the input that's been received, either continue it to your select board meeting for Monday, which would be June 16th.
Is that enough posting
So not
time?
necessarily,
No,
no,
it's
it
a
would just be
continuous.
continuance. So you
Okay.
would recess tonight and continue conversation for Monday. I know that doesn't help Mr. Bassett tonight, but it would at least get him to the planning board portion where they may have to continue his application.
So that's fine, if we need to continue.
Do you wish to push to continue, or are we accepting the 25 as we had asked him to do?
For safety reasons, I think we really need to have wider than 25 feet. I think 25 feet is just too narrow for a right-of-way for any road.
Is there a quorum of the board that wishes to proceed with the 25 feet?
It's tough. I really am respectful of the planning board members we heard from. We may be missing an opportunity we regret down the road, but I feel really badly for Mr. Bassett.
Yeah,
We're
I mean,
changing the goalposts.
But that's not our
I
fault.
would, nope, it's not mine.
So we're going to take a quick,
If I may,
sure.
just to remind the board, we broached this, got the town lawyer to make a decision on this width. It was reported to us, John Warren. It was actually at a planning board meeting where he was consulting,
Yep.
the planning board. And so that's on public record. The town lawyers approved the 25-foot
Correct.
easement. So, and so we've been running with that ever since.
I agree.
Get it? Yeah.
I'm going to ask, are we okay with just amending our 25-foot, or, and then if the answer is no, that means you want to talk about it more. So
What do you think,
do you
Steve?
want to,
Well-
we have only 4 people here, so it's either going to end up in a tie, or we're going to have to push
Right.
it off, or,
Unfortunately, I'm definitely more comfortable with 33. We told them 25.
we've pushed this off for 2 years.
Right.
So,
Time after time, he's been in here, and I feel really bad that,
Yeah.
so you
that's-
must, I'm just saying, you guys have to have a really good feeling for changing this right now, because it's going to be an additional cost, and so.
I mean,
If there's no consensus to maintain at the 25 for tonight, then we'll have to make a continuation for Monday, because we're already eating up an additional half hour.
right.
I'm gonna go with the 25.
You're good with the 25, and I'm good with the 25, but we're still split board. I can't move forward with,
No, I'm good at 25.
if you
That's
guys
what we
want to do
told
the
them.
25, then do the 25.
All right.
And
I
then
don't
I'll just-
disagree with you, John, but
I mean, I feel like we are not looking at the town's best interest, and that is what our role is here.
but again,
That's fine.
the
That's
fire,
fine. You guys can.
police, and
that's-
highway
you
all
don't
had
have to-
input.
That's fine.
I'm just
That's
saying, but
fine,
the
Matt.
people that are
I'm
responsible
just-
for it too.
That's fine. You can, I'm just saying that I don't think we're putting the town's best interest.
Come on, let's hear the last bit before we
You guys
vote on
wanna
this.
do that, then?
Finale.
Please make it quick if you can.
Skip Severn's 340 Stage Road. The other factor that comes into play that we presently don't deal with at all is that these were private roads. Technically speaking, school buses can't go on them. Technically speaking, mail service can't go on them. Now that they're public, it should be open to school buses to pick up the kids and for mail delivery. Just stating fact.
That's another can of worms.
The
and-
whole can of worms, I think we need.
That's a 2021 problem.
Well, we
If
can't
you're,
kick everything down
All
the
right.
road, though.
if
We
we
gotta
don't do something to fix the issue, we're just pushing the issue further down and making it more difficult.
But that's a different issue. This is, for this issue here, I don't think there's an issue with the road at 25 feet. There hasn't been an issue since it's been in its inception.
It's opportunity.
That is fine. Would somebody like to make an amendment on the current 25-foot so that it is more conducive for the planning board? We need to make a motion to change it because we said 25-foot driving way where it's accepted as 25-foot
Okay.
Easement.
easements.
I'm not making that motion.
Somebody gives me a piece of paper to write it. Oh, my God.
Just make a motion to accept the 25-foot right-of-way as is laid out on the layout description for map 70 lot 25. I'm the chairperson, I'm not supposed to make motions.
I'll make a motion to approve
You know, when you're surrounded.
the 25-foot easement as laid out on the plan.
For map 70 lot 25 for identified as Channel Street.
It's right here.
It's okay, we just made the motion.
Made a motion to accept the 25-foot right-of-way on map 70 lot 25 identified as Channel Street. We have a motion, looking for a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second, we'll do a roll call vote.
Aye, Steve Welch.
I oppose.
John
Okay.
Baker opposed. Aye, Matt Sherlin.
I, Charlotte Fife.
Okay, so we've amended the amendment, the action for the road. And at this, any other public comment, we're gonna close the Board of Selectmen meeting at this time, 7:03. So I need a motion to,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
okay, roll call vote.
Aye, Steve Welch.
Hi, John Decker.
Aye, Matt Sherlin.
I, Charlotte Fife.
Thank you for listening, Nottingham. If you want to enjoy, you can stay on for the planning board meeting, which will be an additionally riveting conversation of this.